tell you secret. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. 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 Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice.
Tonight, 8 Democrats voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward on this continuing resolution. And to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote. What it does, first of all, is it raises healthcare premiums for over 20 million Americans by doubling, and in some cases tripling or quadrupling. People can't afford that when we are already paying the highest prices in the world for healthcare. Number two, it paves the way for 15 million people to be thrown off of Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. Studies show that will mean that some 50,000 Americans will die every year unnecessarily. And all of that was done to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%. As everybody knows, just on Tuesday, we had an election all over this country. And what the election showed is that the American people want us to stand up to Trumpism, to his war against working class people, to his authoritarianism. That is what the American people wanted.
I thought it was just a referendum that Democrats won Democrat seats in Democrat states. Good morning. Oh, they want us to fight Trumpism. Oh, you won a blue state, a blue office. Congratulations. Good morning to the Pineapple Nation. The red, white, blue, yellow on the inside. But we're not afraid. It's Tuesday, November the 10th. Excuse me, it's Monday. That's how you know it's Monday, when you don't even... Oh, man, I'm trying to get ahead of this week. Good morning, pineapples. Looking very good and very nice. Ooh, somebody went over to the grift shop this morning and did a little grifting. No, it's nice. They bought some coffee. Kermode, I see you out there. I would give you a big sloppy kiss if I could. The bureaucrats are back from their taxpayer-funded staycations. Washington's already congratulating itself for doing absolutely nothing. Oh, yes. Remember, we were dying, we were going to starve. First they said, how could the Republicans shut down the government? People will die. And then they were... How could the Republicans open the government? People will die. It turns out that no matter what Republicans do, people will die. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Pineapple Nation. It's time for us to sweeten up your morning with the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. Glad and thankful to have you here. If today is your first time watching the Wake Up America show, I would love to be your regular viewing in the morning. We laugh, we cry, we stay informed, and no bullshit here. It's the Wake Up America show, and I try and curse very little, but we don't bullshit. Most of the time I self-censor. I try and keep it PG to PG-13. We're not on the radio, but I try and make it so that it's family-friendly listening in the car. So, sorry, kids. Every once in a while, Daddy says the yes word. Good morning, pineapples. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So the government's back in business. The longest government shutdown in U.S. history. It's officially over. 40 days of blessed silence. They weren't very silent. They were kind of loud. 40 days where the bureaucrats stopped buzzing. Some of them. But now they all have to come back to work.
No, God!
I thought they were non-essential.
No!
Remember, people were going to die.
It's really bad. Danielle Grant is starving. I'm trying to see if I can get some food because we literally don't have anything to eat today or tomorrow. So I'm going to try to make it. It's really bad.
Okay, that was real. Okay, I know many of you are going to be like, that's AI slop. And it did at first look like AI slop to me. But that was real. People were going to die because the Republicans shut down the government. Also, people are going to die because we opened the government. What would this guy have done if we didn't reopen the government?
Are running really low on our refrigerator trying to keep up with food. They have 6 kids. Groceries for 8 people in one house get expensive fast. If they had not come in, we were already struggling. We were sitting around dipping into some Christmas money, some bill money, trying to keep food in the house just to keep the kids fed because we are a big family.
You are a big family, and look what he's feeding them right there. Look at all of that. Look at that. Does that look? That's what you're paying for right there. So it was glorious though. For 40 glorious days and 40 glorious nights, people like Robbie Thurman, they slept soundly, even if coldly. Thank you, Robbie. The train still ran though. The planes were still flying. I know some people had some delays, right? But that's the kind of stuff they do that stuff to us purposefully, in order to try and make us feel pain so that we will contact our representatives and do something and, pretend like they care about our opinions. But we know they don't care. They don't care what we think. They don't have to. Ever since the 17th Amendment. Vaz 526 is here with big Vaz deference energy. Thormox here, Richard Bell, Cell Blocked, all my friends, and my smoking hot redheaded libertarian wife is even here. You guys ready to go? Ready to do this? Let's party. Okay, so about 10 o'clock last night, the Senate decided they'd torture America enough with peace and prosperity. So they backed a bipartisan funding bill to turn the swamp lights back on. Bipartisan, of course. Everybody got paid, we got played. So here's what they're calling a victory for stability. Democrats caved on Obamacare subsidies. That's a big yikes. Republicans caved on spending cuts. That's a big yikes. And the taxpayer, of course, we're going to be footing the bill for 6 weeks of unpaid vacation for 1.4 million federal workers. So they'll all get full back pay for not working, proving once again Washington is the only place in America where failure is compensated and laziness is rewarded, unless you're a Nepo baby, in which case you might do okay at some corporation as well. But here's the part that's delicious. The Democrats' own base is revolting over this. After Chuck Schumer folded on those ACA subsidies, the progressive crowd went absolutely nuclear on Blue Sky, and which is like when all the leftists left Twitter because Elon Musk took over, they set up this new website called Blue Sky. And I think there's another one called Mastodon, but this is where they go to cope and to seethe. On Blue Sky and on Reddit and Mastodon, they were posting these guillotine memes. I know it's guillotine, right? So if you speak a little French, but they had Chuck Schumer's head photoshopped on Marie Antoinette, and the caption was, "Let them eat unsubsidized healthcare." And this affects me and Steffi. We work for ourselves, so we're forced out into the waters of the unwashed. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But the left spent a month screaming, defend the vulnerable, and then they voted for their bill that defunds their own subsidies. So their voters are lighting digital torches and pitchforks. They're marching on their own leadership over this. AOC's people, they were whispering about a primary challenge against Chuck Schumer. Now they're screaming it out loud. Imagine that. The Senate Majority Leader, the most powerful Democrat, hiding under his desk because the socialist bartender from the Bronx might take his job. You love to see it. So the Daily Beast called this a surrender disguised as compromise. Oh, yeah. Gavin Newsom, California's own hair-gelled tyrant, called it a betrayal. And you know what I call it? What old AP tells you? Well, you know what old Jack Burton says at a time like this? This is a teachable moment, and the check is in the mail. Because for 40 days, America got a glimpse of what life looks like when Washington stops pretending to be essential. Here's what the data says. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, hold on, I lost my spot here. There it is. The CBO claimed that the shutdown cost the economy $12 billion. You know what else cost $12 billion? Two days of normal government operations. That's not a crisis. That's a refund. Thanks, Dad. Grandpa. Okay, boomers. So the CBO said $12 billion. A morning consult poll that came out yesterday said 58% of Americans said the shutdown had no impact on their daily lives. Only 17% said it hurt them directly, and most of those were federal employees. The other 83%, we just shrugged and got on with our lives. What about you? And that's the part that nobody in Washington wants to talk about. The more government disappeared, the more normal things got. We libertarians, we aren't mourning the shutdown because of lost productivity. We're mourning it because it was the closest thing we've seen to freedom in years. For 6 weeks, America functioned on voluntary cooperation. Communities were filling the gaps. The private sector, local governments adapted, right? The private sector didn't collapse. It flexed. It wasn't an emergency. This was a model. I thought it was some of the most functional government that we've seen in years. We're going to talk about the shutdown a little bit more this morning. We've got a lot going on. Looks like we've raised $90 towards the $100 bonus content goal. What's wrong with you people? What are you trying to do? Allow me to afford diapers and milk. This baby goes through so much milk. You think the diapers, but when they get off the formula, you think, okay, well, no more formula costs. Okay, for at least until baby number 2 were to come, if we're to come. She's not pregnant, guys. Okay, so just calm down. But at least I don't think so. So once you get off of the smack, as I called it, right? That with the whack, the cocaine, the stuff, injected up there. But what do the babies do with that formula? Not only eat it, but they take it powdered straight up their nose, don't they? It disappears so fast. But then you got to buy a gallon of that whole vitamin D milk every 2 days because they're like, still need my milk, daddy. Are baby products tax-free in Missouri as well? I think they just made a change, but I think we got the pink tax. I'm not sure if it's baby. We might have gotten some baby stuff, but not all that. Drew Van Runkle says, don't try that. It doesn't feel good. Yeah, I wasn't planning on snorting baby formula. If you're lucky, that's what they cut your coca with. I'm in love with the coca. I wouldn't do that. Better, that it's like laxative or baby formula than some other substance that they cut with, I've heard. We have just blown it through, so we're almost to the bonus content. That's crazy. Once we hit that, we're going to do Liberty Loot Live. Don't be mad at me, guys. I hadn't made the announcement yet, but I don't have a 5-minute mini documentary for you guys today, so...
No, God! No! Afuera!
But we will play Liberty Loot Live, the Great Grift Off. And I have something exciting. I've got incredible guests for you today. I'm even got an in-studio guest who's going to be joining us live at 8 a.m. Central. And I'm pretty sure this person has not been on the Wake Up America show since we came into my shoe closet in my home. But Hal Dooley will be on the show today, live with me. And then at 8:30 this morning, we've got... at 8:30 this morning, we are going to have JD Tuccille from Reason Magazine to talk about the shutdown that is now over, and East Coast Toasty Boy enjoying himself some Javier Malay. So Booty Sweat hanging out in the chat as well. And then I thought I saw a new name. A Grith Mag says, I don't understand why some libertarians are happy the government opened up again. I'd prefer to stay closed for another 8 years. Make it 80. What are you, some kind of statist? So yeah, we're going to talk about that with those gentlemen this morning. I've got a billion topics today, but I can't find my show intro. Where did it go? So I had my 5-minute intro that was set up. Had a couple of things I wanted to hit. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything because Hal came in at the last minute. I wasn't going to have him on because he didn't answer until real late. So I had to throw my my schedule out this morning. So I've got shutdown talk. I've got 3 or 4 or 5 other things as well. I'll just go to the show notes here. Oh yeah, well, we were going to talk about the FAA, but now that the shutdown's over, that's out the window. And I guess we'll all be fine for our holiday flights. Who knows? I honestly, Stephanie and I, we've been trying to go to Colorado for years. Let me tell you, we have been scrimping and saving and trying to get there. We tried to go during COVID and they shut down our trip and all that stuff. And then I got to go like a couple of months ago to give a speech, but then she couldn't go because I had to take care of the baby. So it's like, and I have been sick to death of flying, sick to death. So a while back, I said, you know what? We're not flying. I know it's 13 freaking stinking hours from here to up into the mountains of Colorado, but we're driving, baby. We're taking my V8 4x4 and we're driving up into the mountains of Colorado. From Jefferson City to Colorado to back, we're driving because I'm not screwing with these flights. And then when they started canceling flights, I was like, good move, AP. I'm sick of dealing with it. Because the thing is you're like, oh, 13 hours, right? Yeah, but you get there. Right? What happens to the time when they split your flight? They're like, oh, you're going to miss a flight. And then you're stuck in an airport for 13 hours. And you're like, I could have driven there and I would be there by now. You know what I'm saying? Siggy's mom, she says, I'm with you, AP. Communities stepped up. Booty Sweat over in the chat talking about the Dave Smith hate. Yeah, I saw last night there was some 3.5 hour long video that they put out on Dave Smith that was some hit piece. But it's just funny because they're attacking him, saying that he's not a real libertarian, which I was just kind of like, womp womp. That's the cool. He defends libertarianism poorly. Well, yeah. Nah, it's all just a cult of personality. Libertarians, they're all just sort of, they're not immune to the same horked up mistakes that the major parties make people in other ideologies. They're guilty of the same things. They just happen to mostly have the better ideas than anybody else out there, but still seems like a lot of crappy ideas mostly coming out of libertarians these days. Let's be honest, I'm a libertarian, but we're surrounded by idiots. And usually it's the idiots that rise to the top in politics. Andy Opperman says he drives to southern Florida, 20 hours of windshield time one way. But I arrive in my own time in my own vehicle for the fraction of the price. Exactly. You just get there. You get there when you get there, right? You put things on cruise control and you cruise. That's how I feel about it. But this is a Midwestern thing, apparently, Andy, that it's kind of a meme online that if you are a Midwesterner, then we all just drive everywhere. Oh, well, we can. Well, we're centrally located. That's one of the nice things about living in the Midwest is that, you want to drive to Colorado, it's a certain amount of time, not too much. If you want to drive back east, certain amount of time, not too much. Thank you, Andy, for going to the Grift Shop and doing some shopping this morning. You guys are being so generous. We will play Liberty Loot Live at the end of the show today. I'm sure Hal is going to really enjoy that. We've got incredible topics. We've got incredible guests. So we'll have Hal Dooley in studio at 8 o'clock. We'll have JD Tuccille from Reason Magazine at 8:30. He's never been on the show on video. So today's the first time we're going to have JD Tuccille on video. And if we have time, I don't think we will, but Hollywood's faith revival, why moral storytelling is winning again. If I don't have time for that story today, then I'll probably just stick it in tomorrow. The FAA stuff is out. You see me writing the show in real time because everything is changing in the last 8 to 12 hours. So the federal workforce going back to work, furloughed and unfurloughed. It's the Wake Up America show. I'm Austin Peters. This is chaos. This is anarchy this morning. Little anarchy. Hope you don't mind. So let me just talk you through that. Well, first of all, real quick joke. You've got to love this. I'm laughing so hard because apparently Mamdani at his party, they had a $13 price per beer for a Bud Light. And one of their workers said, I arrived thinking everything would be free, only to be charged $13 for a Bud Light. I was shocked after all the hard work I put in. One progressive campaign worker said, I love it. And now I'll retweet it. Who's Pecan? America First, MAGA. That looks like a MAGA supporter. You know what I'm saying right there? You know what? Give her a follow. She's from God's country after all. She's a Corvette fan. Okay, cool. Pecan C8 for that incredible post. You shall have my repost. Look at me. I'm up here at number 3 today, live on X. behind Real America's Voice and Jovan Hutton Pulitzer guy. So if you haven't already, make sure that you do give me a repost over on X at AP for Liberty. If you repost it, the best way to repost something on X is to like do a repost, but don't just like repost mine onto your timeline, but like say, hey, we're live here now, come and join us. And that's the best way to support the show. But did you know that you can actually cut clips of the Wake Up America show? So if you like a certain part, let's say you like the last 30 seconds or the last minute, the last 2 or 3 or 4 minutes that you saw, all the way up to 4 minutes, if you type !clip, and the instructions are coming up in the chat, you can see right now, !clip, it'll automatically do the last 30 seconds. But you can also do all the way up to like 240 seconds or whatever 4 minutes is. And it'll do the last minute, 2, 3, 4 minutes for you. So if you want to grab it, it'll send you a URL. Now, here's the thing. If you really want, if you want to grow your X account, here's a little hack for you. When you post those videos, don't just post the link that it sends you, but actually download the video from that URL that it sends you and upload it natively to X. Because if you post the link, X is going to kill it. There's no point in posting the link over there because it's just, they're not going to let you get that out to the people. You have to have a huge, huge audience to get links to be seen by people because X doesn't want you to link out. They want you to natively post. So there's a little hack for you. These are the kinds of things that you learn if you're a part of my AI course. It's packed with lots of great information like that. But if you want to grow your X account, upload content natively, upload videos natively, upload pictures natively. Don't just share someone else's necessarily. Of course, share mine. But upload the video and I will repost it if you tag me in it. So I'm laughing. We've got, and I don't know how long terms are for mayors of New York City. I'm going to guess 4 years, but we're going to get at least 4 years of this kind of high comedy. So at least it's going to have plenty of content for the Wake Up America show. What do you say? East Coast Toasty Boy says closet Muslim sleeper agent. Is he though? Because he's more of the gay leftist. He's more gay race communist. I'm not saying he's going to play the whole Muslim angle for, he's going to play it up, but he's really, they would definitely cut off his head. They would throw him off of a building for sure, because of the people that he hangs with. So the Wake Up America show today is going to be a little more free flow until we hit the 8 o'clock hour between now. So I've got another 40, 50 minutes to talk Shutdown with you guys. If you're part of the Pineapple Nation, then don't forget to click the like button. If you're not a part of the Pineapple Nation, then click the follow button on the stream. If you're watching us over on Rumble at rumble.com/AP4Liberty, make sure you click the like button and then the follow button as well. You'll get a notification when we go live, which is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the Wake Up America show, and we're sticking to it. If you live in New York City under Zoran Mondani and you think it's time to leave, then our friend from South America has an open invitation for you.
Quisiera dedicarles estas palabras sobre todo a los neoyorquinos que prendieron el camino inverso al que emprendió Argentina y ahora van a vivir bajo un gobierno comunista. Sepan que si la cosa se pone complicada, siempre serán bien recibidos en nuestra tierra si buscan prosperar.
Translation. Hold on, here's the translation.
I'd like to dedicate these words especially to New Yorkers who've taken the opposite path to that of Argentina and will now be living under a communist government. They should know that if the going gets tough, they will always be warmly welcomed in our land if they seek to prosper.
Thanks, Havo. We love you, brother. We're going to go to Buenos Aires next year. Who wants to come? Anybody in the chat want to go with us? Me and Steffi? If you're interested in going to Argentina next year, then drop your email over on the Grift Shop at thegriftshop.com. If you go to the Grift Shop on the front page, you can scroll down and check out our Buenos Aires trip details. Let me exit that preview. There we go. So go to the gift shop. Here it is, and scroll down, and it's like the third or fourth item down on the front page. There we go. The Buenos Aires group trip 2026. Click here for details. If you sign up right here, give us your email and click I'm interested, then we'll put you on the trip of parties that will get all of our updates whenever we decide to book our trip for 2026. To go see Javier Milei at the Casa Rosada to do a little tango in Buenos Aires. So if you're interested in coming, make sure that you guys get your passport and like Drew Van Runkle and get yourself all ready to go. Get on the list, forlibertyshop.com. If you go to forlibertyshop.com and scroll down on the front page, you will find all kinds of wonderful things, but also the Buenos Aires group trip page. So click there and get yourself signed up. Also, while you're there, guys, it's just, you don't want to mess with a store like mine and shipping times, because it takes a few days for us to get our products made and then packaged up and shipped. So if you want to get something nice for the liberty-loving patriot in your life, go to For Liberty Shop today and get those orders in. Stephanie made these pants last night and they sold immediately. She's been wanting pants like this for years. She just wanted pajama pants with the founding fathers' faces on them. So she just made them and then she posted them on X and somebody went and bought them. They're super cute. President's pattern, women's pajama pants, a beautiful gift for someone to open up on Christmas morning. I made this because I thought it would be a nice gift. A lot of people have the AirPods these days. So I made some beautiful Appeal to Heaven with the Betsy Ross flag AirPods case. A really nice gift for somebody in your life who has AirPods. The Appeal to Heaven Patriotic Christmas AirPods case, available at forlibertyshop.com. Check out all the newest, latest product drops. It's at the very top of the website. But then I saw Kermode this morning, went and bought a bunch of coffee, and I'm so proud to be able to offer you these new prices if you buy in bulk. So buy more than one, guys. Buy more than one, and you will save money. That's what Kermode Bear did today. He went to the shop and he bought a bunch of coffee, and he saved big time, because 2 boxes save 3, 3 boxes save 7, 4 boxes save $12. That's a big savings. And look at how good the reviews are for our coffee. They freaking love it. Jeffersonian Java is the #1 top seller in our shop, and we're so glad to be able to offer it to you, especially at the lower price at forlibertyshop.com. Get those holiday discounts, guys. Get those volume discounts and get them soon, because, of course, it'll be here before you know it. And I'm already getting messages from suppliers saying, get your orders in early, because who knows what could happen with the government shutdown. And is RFK Jr. now the head of is he that Postmaster General? Get your packages in. And no, that's mean. That's mean, Motari. That's mean. All right, Pineapple Nation. So somewhere Chuck Schumer is staring into a mirror and whispering, was it all worth it? Because the shutdown is officially over. And boos. Here's the same people who were mad that the shutdown was even happening.
This is having massive impact. I went and got my eyebrows done the other day, and my eyebrow technician was like, they're going to fire 2 technicians from here because all of our clients don't have money to come. She's not on Snap.
That's it. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a second. So Snap is having a massive impact after she went to her eyebrow technician, who told her they had to fire people because clients don't have money to do their brows. So wait a minute. They had money to do their brows, but they didn't have money for food? Or now they don't have money to do their brows because they didn't have money for food. So their money is going to where it's supposed to. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. We're glad and thankful. Whenever we hit over 100 live viewers, I'm always just wanted to say thank you. I'm grateful to have you here. The shutdown is over. So this deal restores government funding through January 30th, 2026. Federal workers are going to get full back pay. I know. Agencies, of course, get their fresh blank checks. Democrats get to claim victory. They're going to claim victory, even if they're angry right now. But when you peel back the layers, what they really got was a civil war in their own ranks. So let's start with the Associated Press. The final vote was 60-40. 8 Democrats broke ranks to side with Republicans. including one John Fetterman, who they're all hating right now. The Democrats are hating so much John Fetterman, and I'm just loving it. It funds all the major departments: defense, transportation, interior, and even that beloved bureaucratic gem, the Department of Education. So the big sticking point on this was the Obamacare subsidies. So no extension for Obamacare subsidies. So that was supposed to be the Democrats' non-negotiable. So they screamed about this for weeks. AOC said that said that letting the subsidies lapse would kill people. Gavin Newsom called it a betrayal of our most vulnerable, but they voted for it anyway. So the New York Post headline nailed it. Senate Democrats cave on ACA subsidies and reopen the government after 40 days. And now their base is furious. So Blue Sky, Reddit, you name it, memes of guillotines, Schumer's head, Marie Antoinette, people were saying, let them eat unsubsidized health care. And Schumer's scared, and he should be, because the rumors are already swirling. AOC primary challenge in 2026. So the sitting Senate Majority Leader is going to get taken out by the socialist Cinderella from the Bronx. Yo, Jenny from the block.
We need to do this while we have the leverage.
Of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer, but it is one of the few leverage times we have.
You reopen the government and we lose our leverage, there has to be an agreement right now. That's what this whole shutdown is about.
Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Frankly, this is our only moment of leverage.
The idea that you would give up all of your leverage and then hopefully get some sort of great deal coming down the pike is just a fool's errand.
Why are working families the leverage the Democrats need to get Obamacare fixed?
It's the only lever we have.
Democrats have this one little sliver right now when we've got some leverage here.
Some Republicans, Senator, have pushed a bill that would pay government workers.
I think that just gives the president more leverage.
Catherine was basically expressing, in her own words, the notion that our leverage right now are our votes.
Them wanting to solve the problem that we want to solve, but do it in a couple of days or a couple of weeks when we've given up our negotiating leverage.
Without that leverage, the minority party, would be stuck in the mud and not basically have anything to negotiate.
50 ways to love your lever. Thormock, no! What is wrong with you guys? God bless it. And dadgummit. Welcome to the Wake Up America show, guys. Things get a little weird. This is the Pineapple Nation. Good morning, pineapples. Let me tell you a secret.
Let me tell you a secret. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple.
Oh, yes. Meanwhile... no! President Trump got to look presidential because he held the line on spending caps. He didn't get everything that he wanted, but Democrats lost their will to fight. The White House said that the deal restores stability, which you could translate as, we won, they cried, the bureaucrats are going to get their allowance back. So some good, some bad. Now, I know my Liberty friends out there, I know your hearts are heavy. For 40 days, we saw what America could look like without Washington, D.C., and you know what? It looked fine. Better than fine. Markets adjusted. The states started stepping up to help the people who needed help. Whether you agree with it or not, they step in and say, you know what? We're going to step in and fill the gap. I saw people stepping up to give out of the kindness of their own hearts, charities, food pantries. Everybody started getting things going. I was like, this is it. This is it. This is our chance. Just let them go. Markets were adjusting. The country didn't crumble. The only people panicking were the ones who depend on the government checks and the journalists who write about them. Now the journalists are even going after the Democratic Party. They're, well, it's bad when the mainstream media stops glossing the Democrats and starts asking real questions like this.
Leader Jeffries, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer did make a new offer, effectively saying, let's extend Obamacare subsidies for 1 year in exchange for reopening the government for 1 year. You have said that you would support that proposal, but just last month you said this. Take a look.
A 1 year extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits is not acceptable. It's a non-starter. It's a non-starter.
So, Leader Jeffries, what changed?
Well, the proposal that I was making reference to in October was something that was floated out there by a handful of rank-and-file House Republicans, and that was immediately rejected by House Republican leadership because they have no interest in driving down the high cost of living for everyday Americans.
Yeah,
the Schumer proposal, of course, was offered.
You know that it's bad when the press starts asking Democrats real questions. The Congressional Budget Office estimates the total economic loss from the shutdown is about $12 billion, which of course sounds like a lot, but that's how much. That's 2 days of government spending. So that's not a crisis. That's a rounding error. 730,000 federal workers were deemed essential, meaning that they worked without pay. 670,000 were furloughed, meaning that they didn't work at all and will still get full back pay. Only in government do you get a paycheck for not working, and then you get applauded for your sacrifice. In the real world, though, small business owners like myself and many others, people who listen to this show, I'm sure, we didn't get a single subsidy. We didn't get a bailout, although Trump is talking about giving us $2,000 tariff funds, and it's just like, please, Mr. President, stop.
No, God, please, no.
I love you, Big T, but we don't need that money. Just keep the money and pay off the national debt, right? Truckers kept driving, though. Farmers kept producing. Did the grocery stores in your community still stay stocked, right? The one group that didn't learn a damn thing, the bureaucrats. Let's take the FAA. Here's the example. During the shutdown, flight delays averaged 83 minutes nationwide, according to Reuters. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg blamed staffing issues, but then admitted that those staffing issues existed before the shutdown. So the translation is, we didn't break it, it was already broken. Right? And the same went for the IRS. They claimed that there was a disaster, but the online filings continued almost uninterrupted. Agriculture said SNAP benefits would vanish, but within hours of reopening, every state had them running again. Translation. So that's what this tells me, is that the federal government isn't a service provider at all. It's just a middleman, a very expensive, very inefficient, and utterly replaceable middleman. The shutdown didn't expose government's importance. It exposed that the redundancy in this system is massive. And let's compare this to history for a second. This is where I earn my Rumble rants. In 1995, Bill Clinton faced off against Newt Gingrich over spending. That shutdown lasted 21 days. The media at the time called it devastating. In 2018, under Trump, the government shut down for 35 days. The press said it would destroy the economy. Now, here we are in 2025, 40 days, the longest in history. And what happened? The Dow hit record highs, unemployment stayed under 4%, and inflation dropped another 0.3%. The economy didn't die. It thrived. Remember that. Take notes, clip it, and play it again 4 years, 8 years, 16 years from now. I'll still be here. I'll just be older with maybe some baggy titties at that point, because I'll be old man by that time. 40, 50. Damn, I'll be in like my mid-50s. Oof. I think I'm starting to look a little chopped now. All right, let's talk about public opinion. According to a new Morning Consult poll, 58% of Americans said the shutdown had little or no impact on their lives. Only 17% said it hurt them directly. And when they asked who blamed the most, Democrats topped the list at 41%. Oh, my God. So not only did Schumer lose the war, he lost the narrative. The longer the shutdown went on, the more normal life looked for ordinary Americans. MSNBC last night were not looking happy.
Do you think Chuck Schumer needs to go after tonight?
He should have gone a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. Yes.
Yes, you talk about Eamon not meeting the moment, right? Every time he gets in front of the camera, the average Democratic voter out there screams, "Be done with you, be done." And this will only accelerate that. Yes,
Joe,
I think
do you think the left is headed for a Tea Party-like moment here? I mean, I know that you're new to being a Democrat and you're not like some big lefty or progressive, but this does seem to fit the argument that they have been making, that some of these older or more moderate and establishment figures just aren't ready to meet this moment. Generational change is needed. You know, this sort of seems like if you're one of them, you're running on this. You're challenging
I'll tell you what, if I were on set with you all right there, I'm yanking off my mic and I'm hugging you. I'm giving you a big high five. You are exactly right. Look.
Joe, what happened to you, Joe? Man. The left wanted panic. They wanted us all to freak out. What they got from the American people was apathy. They wanted a crisis. They got a shrug. Libertarians like us, we were sipping our delicious Founding Flavors coffee, watching Washington sweat. It was a beautiful thing. I took my coffee boxes to my meeting with the Sons of the American Revolution over the weekend, getting all our business taken care of, and everybody was really excited to learn about the coffee. They loved the Thomas's Painkiller coffee, the title there. That's my favorite flavor of all of them. If you want a good espresso roast, then get the dark roast, the Adams's Patriotic Perk. If you're looking for a jolt of caffeine, then go for the Jeffersonian Java at the shop. But my recommendation is that you get 4 boxes. Get Jeffersonian Java, Thomas's Painkiller, Electric Elixir, and if you need a dark roast for like your espressos, then get the Adams's Patriotic Perk. You will save a lot of money if you buy 4 boxes because we now have an automatic discount. So the more in volume you buy, the more your discount adds up. You can get that at forlibertyshop.com. But remember, light roasts are high caffeine and dark roasts are for like your more bold, robust flavor that you want to get from like a dark roast that you'd put in an espresso. So Founding Flavors Coffee at forlibertyshop.com. The more you buy, the more you save. We're just watching Washington sweat this morning. At 8 o'clock this morning on the Wake Up America show, we're going to hear from Hal Dooley. He's a lobbyist. He's a local Jeffersonian. He is a member of every committee. He's a U.S. Marine. He's a local bon vivant. And he himself has a smoking hot redheaded, I think she's pretty libertarian wife as well. So 2 men who have great taste in women. We'll be here with you talking at 8 a.m. Central. So 15 minutes from now, Hal's going to come in. I'll open up the garage and I'll pat him down to make sure he's not carrying. Just kidding. What are we, a police state here? No. We'll hear from Hal at 8 o'clock this morning on the Wake Up America show. And then we will have JD Tuccille at 8:30 a.m. Central here on the Wake Up America show. It's nice to see that we have friends over on YouTube, including our new friend, it appears, I'm a good lay, says, and so am I. And says, usually after the government shutdown, airports and city seizures of a bulletless war takeover, next to take to the courts to control the people who will be mad. And also said why they flew those immigrants to targeted cities to bring in the military takeover of airports and city. Pre-planned for Chicago and Portland years in advance. Interesting. R-Volt's here, John M. Knox, Joni Rankin, Grizz Cheese, Real Science Questions. Damn, we got a good crew over here today. Pat yourselves on the back. And pat that like button, too. It's important to hit that like button, guys, because it helps us get this show into other people's feed. And when we have 114 people this morning watching the Wake Up America show, I have to say a thank you very much and click the follow button as well. If you haven't clicked the follow button, then you're missing out because the Wake Up America show produces this show 5 days a week on the Wake Up America show. It's a 5-day-a-week live stream. It's a great way to stay informed about what's going on in the world. And our community, unlike a lot of toxic online communities, we are specifically a positive, optimistic, healthy, white-pilled community. I very much I'm not always keeping it light and positive, but for the most part, that's where I am. So we're a little bit happy-go-lucky over here. And if you want to start your day with, a fresh jolt of caffeine and find out what's going on in the news and be a part of a healthy community where everybody's not hating on each other, ripping each other to shreds all the time, then you're in the right place. So you're amongst friends. Please do click the follow button, and you'll get notifications when we go live, which is Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the Wake Up America show schedule, and I am sticking to it. Since we've got a big audience here, now's the perfect time for me to share a live read for you from our friends over at Rumble and Crypto.com. You guys know that I am a huge fan of cryptocurrency, and I was stunned when I saw how big the Trump Media Group, the deal that they inked was massive, a $6.4 billion deal with Crypto.com. It's now the world's top crypto platform. They teamed up to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO. That's the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low-fee DeFi, staking rewards, and real-world perks like cash back on your spends to launch America's first CRO treasury. When it's done, the new company will be the biggest CRO holder out there. If you want in on that action, head to Crypto.com today and grab some CRO. Let's make crypto great again. Why not? John M. Knox, they're talking about tariffs this morning. Who wants their $2,000 tariff check? Hal Dooley's giving me a call, guys. Maybe he's here, maybe he's not. If so, I need to get him on the show. Don't go away. We'll be right back. It's the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
New York City's next mayor will be Zohran Mamdani, who is not merely an extreme left progressive, but an actual democratic socialist. It would be a mistake to underemphasize the radical nature of this ideology. And yet, that's precisely what some in the media are doing. The BBC, for instance, featured an infographic that described Mamdani's democratic socialism as an ideology which has no clear definition, but essentially means giving a voice to workers, not corporations. That's an extremely evasive way of describing a radical political vision. No one would say that National Socialism, the ideology of the German Nazi Party, had no clear definition and implied only good things about the empowerment of the working class. It is not difficult to understand what is meant by the term democratic socialism. Plain old socialism is a revolutionary economic and political system that involves the workers seizing the means of production from the capitalist class. In practice, this necessitates a strong centralized state exerting significant control over and management of the economy, confiscation of private property, nationalization of various industries, and redistribution. Since such a system inevitably produces shortages, suffering, and eventually public discontent, actually existing socialist regimes throughout history have tended toward authoritarianism. The Soviet Union, for example, brutally suppressed internal dissent. In a 2021 story for Reason titled, "Yes, It Was an Evil Empire," the writer Kathy Young, who was born in Moscow prior to the Soviet Union's collapse, provided examples of Soviet tyranny. Among my parents' friends and co-workers, few did not have a story, if they were candid about it, of a family member or relative imprisoned in the Stalin era for some absurd reason. Someone's aunt was branded a subversive because a neighbor heard her playing a funeral march on the piano the day a notorious enemy of the people was executed. Someone's father was charged with fomenting defeatist attitudes during the war for remarking that Stalin sounded sad in his radio address to the people. By the end of its existence, the Soviet Union was an exhausted totalitarian regime, trying to maintain its grip on a society that laughed at official pieties, craved consumer goods, was thrilled by the forbidden, and idolized the West. Let's return to the Soviet Union in a minute. Democratic socialists seek to distance themselves from the authoritarian tendencies of actually existing socialist regimes, which is why they added the word democratic to their moniker. They wish to establish that the seizing of private property and redistribution of resources will be arrived at via democratic means. And like the BBC, they tend to describe themselves very vaguely, using flowery rhetoric. Senator Bernie Sanders, DVT, has defined democratic socialism as a government and an economy and a society which works for all. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez thinks it's democratic participation in our economic dignity. Obviously, these are not particularly distinguishing descriptions. Most people probably think their political views lend toward a dignified society that generally works for all. Certainly, opponents of socialism believe that the opposite slate of policies, free markets, low regulation and taxation, reducing government control of the economy, creates greater prosperity at all income levels. Democratic socialists should be more honest about what they support, having a powerful central government micromanage the economy. Enter Hasan Piker, a controversial far-left Twitch streamer and self-avowed socialist who has described communism as the honorable end goal of socialism. Piker attended Mamdani's victory party earlier this week and remarked to a reporter that it was unfortunate the US had defeated the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Hasan Piker just went full mask off at the Zoran election victory party, declares it a tragedy that the USA defeated the Soviet Union in the Cold War. At a time when many conservative commentators are feuding over Nick Fuentes and calling on others to denounce the anti-Semitic and racist influences in the movement, it might be fair to ask if Piker speaks for left-wing commentators. Just as every figure on the right should be able to denounce Hitler without hesitation, it would be nice to hear progressives admit that the Soviet Union was bad. Fuentes, for what it's worth, likes Stalin too.
It's really bad. Danielle Grant is starving. I know. I'm trying to see if I can get some food because we literally don't have anything to eat today or tomorrow. So I'm going to try to make it. It's really bad.
The next mayor will be Zohran Mamdani, who is not merely an extreme left progressive.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. We're glad and thankful to have you here. Click that like button if you haven't already, and click the follow button as well. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, we want you to be a regular guest. So click the follow button and come back and join us 5 days a week, Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the Wake Up America show schedule, and we're sticking to it. I'm so delighted to introduce, and no wonder we've got such a big audience. I think everybody knew that we were going to have one of the most famous locally Marines on the birthday of the U.S. Marines, our local lobbyist and friend, Hal Dooley. What you doing, Hal?
Hanging out with Austin Petersen.
On the Wake Up America show? You shouldn't have.
Absolutely.
Happy birthday to the U.S. Marines, Hal, and thank you for your service. Semper Fi and hoorah.
Well, thank you very much. 250th birthday of the Marine Corps.
What does it mean to be a Marine, Hal? What does it take to be a man like yourself?
Disciplined, responsible, haven't paid the price, proud, all those traditional things that Americans should be.
Hal, you've got an amazing life story. You've got hundreds of incredible stories. You have your own show here locally on Saturdays where you talk about local Jefferson City issues. We're the state capital, but we're also a small town, and there's a lot that goes on and moves and shakes, even a little town like this, isn't there?
Absolutely, and there's a lot going on in the capital city of Missouri.
There is. And wasn't it interesting that during the shutdown, this young lady here, she was upset about losing her SNAP benefits. As soon as the federal government looked like they might not be able to meet their obligations, the state government stepped in. Mike Kehoe stepped in, and local pantries stepped up, and it looked like people were actually saying, hey, we could do this ourselves.
Well, you know, that's always been the argument on why government's so involved in it when charitable organizations, Christian organizations, fellow people could provide these services for people that are in need.
Yeah. Hal, what was the shutdown like? Was it devastation? Was it chaos? I mean, were we, like, locally here, there wasn't a raid. We did have the store shelves, the local Hy-Vee, they were still stocked.
Well, I didn't see a lot of people really gnashing their teeth about it. They were adjusting to the limitations that were put on them. I think the SNAP program was probably the poster child of the shutdown and the lack of resources. But people, I don't think anybody starved to death during this period. Matter of fact, all of our local organizations stepped forward, including our veterans organizations. You know, we got food pantries going again and made sure that people had access to food. I don't think anybody starved, but it was a political football, as you know, over the last 2 or 3 months.
Do you think that a lot of the federal government, or maybe certainly a significant part of the federal government, really just showed that it's not necessary, Hal?
You know, I'm married to a woman that's a lot further right and probably in your corner on libertarianism than I am.
Another redheaded libertarian woman, yes.
And she feels the same way, that there's a lot of services that weren't provided in the last few weeks that really can be provided in other sectors.
You love to see it. Absolutely. Yes. Ann Dooley, she's a lovely redheaded libertarian gal. There's something about those redheads. They love freedom a lot more than a lot of ladies these days.
Independent. She grew up in a small town. Her father had a grocery store, and she worked in the grocery store, and she knew what it took to open a shop every day and be responsible. She's got a small business here in Jefferson City, and it's the same way. If people would just put out the effort and accept the responsibility of themselves, we could have a lot better nation, a lot better society if they would just contribute. My thoughts and my viewpoint over the years is we've got just as many takers as we have givers, and that's not good. This should be a country of giving.
Speaking of taking, looks like we might be taking a $2,000 tariff check from the Trump White House. So yeah, they're talking about giving us a $2,000 tariff check. So my question is, for you, is what kind of gun do you want and in what caliber, Hal?
Oh, no. We're going to do what you and I did several years ago. I'm buying more Bitcoin with it.
Good for you, Hal.
Yes, my original money from President Biden went to Bitcoin, and it has doubled, as you know.
I know. Isn't that amazing, Hal? You doubled your money.
And when you get your money, we get our money, we can have a champagne party like we had the last time. I would love to do that.
I remember I got in so much trouble because of that champagne that we had that day on the air.
That's part of life.
I think so, too.
I think people enjoy it. Yeah. I think they enjoy us enjoying it, and maybe other people will do the same thing.
Well, now I'm in the private market, and I work for myself. I'm my own boss now these days. It's much better. I can drink if I want to on my show. I never do, but if we doubled our money through Bitcoin, then we certainly would. Hal, I always am like dragging you into these kinds of ventures, and at first, you saw the volatility of Bitcoin. You were a little freaked out about it. But now that you've doubled your money, can you say that, maybe Austin does know what he's talking about every once in a while?
I've always professed that. I've been in your corner since get-go.
I know.
You and I have been good friends. I think we think the same way. I think business-wise that we do a good thing. When you were in public radio, we had some challenges that you don't have today, and that's the way society should be going.
Yeah, I can curse now. I can say bad words.
Yes, you can. Wait. And I don't think people are offended. There's a few bad words I don't think we'd want to say, but
no. I try and keep it PG to PG-13, right? I want to capture the widest possible audience, and so you do that for that reason and stuff. Try and be respectful, and then of course, if people are listening and they got their kids in the car, they can hear the show and not have to worry about it, have turning things down. But every once in a while, I get a little angry and a little PG-13, but we rarely stretch it into R-rated territory unless it's Stephanie, who comes on this show every Friday. Mm-hmm. We call it Freedom Family Friday. And my brother Justin streams in from Boston as well. So we kind of make it like a family affair, and it's really fun. But then sometimes we do talk about adult things, but we warn people. I just want to let you know, Hal, that at 8:30 today, we're going to have another guest. So there'll be three of us, and we're going to stream in somebody from Arizona. His name's J.D. Tuccille. He works at Reason Magazine, and he's been commenting on the shutdown. And he's kind of in my camp on this, that we were probably better off a little shut down. But people were talking about air traffic control. They said they were having all these staffing problems, but then later they admitted that they had those staffing problems before the shutdown. Hal, what was your take on the whole air traffic control situation in the United States?
Well, and I agree. The air traffic controllers do a momentous job, and it's a stressful job. And we've had hard, here we go again. We talked about that a little bit earlier, finding good people to do good jobs. Everybody wants an easy job, not to work too hard, 4-day, 3-day, 2-day work week, making about $300,000 a year, driving a new car and stuff. But the air traffic controllers, they're responsive. They've got to maintain the traffic safety. I know Reagan's had some problems. Remember the helicopter coming up the river problem 2 years ago, and they cut back on the program at Reagan. Reagan was overbooked, and what I read on that with the air traffic controllers is they fought that, but congressmen, they want to go to Reagan, and they want to leave right away, and they want to be able to come back in. So that was an irony type situation with regard to Reagan National, that Congress felt it was necessary that they be overworked to accommodate them. And that's the way the travelers are. But I think it's an issue that's got to be addressed. I think it's something that, as far as the traveling public is concerned, the underlying story on all of this is the safety record that they have is phenomenal for the air traffic that they have to control. And the problems we have come with the manufacturers of the airplanes rather than any errors that controllers do. Being a Marine, I think I worked hard to be a success, but at the same time, I think it's distinguished and it's rewarding for an air traffic controller to get up every day and do what they're doing. I think it's something that we really need to push hard on to make sure we got an adequate number of people that protect our airways.
It sure is nice to have a U.S. Marine on the U.S. Marine's birthday today. Hal Dooley joining us live. We're glad to have you here, Hal, and thank you very much for joining us in studio today. This is the first time you've gotten to be in here since I moved into the shoe closet, but we actually like it here because...
Does Stephanie have that many shoes?
They're all mine. They're all mine.
You got your hats, and you got your M1.
Yeah, my M1 Garand up there. Yeah,
you're ready to go.
Yeah,
you got your posters. I love the posters.
Now, Hal, I know you're not that old, but I mean, did you ever fire an M1 Garand in anger by any chance?
Not in anger, no.
M14?
M14, yes.
M14.
And it hit its target a few times too. Well, every Marine is a marksman. You know that.
That's
There's
right.
a rifleman, actually, but a marksman.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the 250th anniversary of the United States, the anniversary of the Marines, the birthday of the Marines, how everybody's talking about. You know what's amazing? I joined the local Sons of the American Revolution, and there's actually been I won't say explosion, but like a pretty good jump in new members. And Cliff Olson, he's the genealogist of the group. He was saying that he thinks it's because of people taking up an interest in their ancestry due to the anniversary of the United States, but I'm not quite sure. I hope it's a sign of positive, more people are getting involved in, learning about their history and American history. What do you think?
Well, and I agree with you. And the other side we've talked about a little bit before, the technology that helps you track your genealogy is so much. You had to go to books and records and write letters, especially, German ancestry. You go back to Germany. Nowadays, with all the computerization and information that's available, it's a little bit easier to find the history of your family. And I agree with you. And there's a lot of pride in the revolutionary successors like yourself. Sam Bushman, along with Cliff Olson and many others, are very involved in it. And it's a very prideful thing. And I wish more people would do that and take more pride in their background, especially the American side of the background. Mm-hmm. From the time that your ancestors came here until today, there's a lot that had to been done. It's one thing getting here and going to Ellis Island, but once you leave Ellis Island, you're on your own. You didn't have everything. And a lot of the people, they just went in, raised families, got a job, worked hard. Really hard. A lot more hard labor in those days than with the technology that we've got today. A lot of factories. And you talk about sweatshops. It wasn't because you had bad people running the sweatshops. It's just you didn't have the technology to make it any easier than it was. But they survived that, and they had families. I've got a son. He's got four boys. It's an awesome task for them to raise those four boys in today's economy and situation. But then again, back in the 40s when I was born, I was the oldest of six. But I don't ever recall being denied anything. My father and mother were always there. Mother never worked. Dad worked. And I don't know why people can't be successful and raise large families today. It takes a lot of effort, but it's almost a responsibility and a duty. Now, you started it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting because, we face hardships. But when we were doing the genealogy on my ancestors to find out, who, what, when, where, and why, the Patriot ancestor, he had an ancestor that had been here since the 1600s. So we're talking about like the earliest of like the Pilgrims. And my ancestor, Isaac Wade, the amount of struggle and hardship that they had to go through to do what they did, we are so, what's the word? Spoiled.
Yes.
We are so spoiled. Because Isaac Wade, my ancestor, my name's Austin Wade. So Isaac Wade, he fought in Germantown. He fought in Brandywine. Then he fought at Charleston in South Carolina, was captured in Charleston in South Carolina, was either furloughed or escaped, then made it back to the front to go fight at the Battle of Yorktown, the final battle. And just to accomplish that, what an unbelievable task. But then he had a whole bunch of kids and he had a lifestyle. And the thing was, it wasn't like you could just DoorDash, get on your phone and set up an app and say, hey, here's the money for the groceries. You know what I mean? If the man left the farm, things tended to fall apart. So he had to have a hearty wife, and he had to have kids who stepped up and worked. All of that done, plus fought in the American Revolution and earned our independence. It's just unbelievable what these people accomplished. And America was founded, and here we are 250 years later talking about it to this day. Do you think that our ancestors would be proud of us, Hal, or do you think that they would look at us perhaps askance?
I think it's a two-edged sword. You know, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about the SNAP benefit user. I mean, we had people that needed food back in the day, the revolutionary days, but the society took care of that, and it was a stigma. It was a stigma. You wanted to get off handouts and food stamps as quickly as you could, and to find employment. And today, to me, it's a way of life from what I see. A lot of people, that's one generation to another. This is what you get from the government, and just keep playing the card. You know, and we're talking about technology and making things easier. Now, it is, but you sit back and do nothing because of the technology doing all the work for you, or do you raise your priorities in doing other meaningful things in lieu of the things you used to do in the past, you know, like research, like doing a radio show, like I do mine and you do yours. All that research is a little bit easier today because of technology. But I can spend more time working on the quality of my show without having to dig into research to get the information available that I want. And I think that's the drawback right now. People rest on their laurels and don't continue the fight to improve and to get better. You got the have and have-nots, unfortunately. And I think the have-nots are jealous of the haves. Well, look at New York. You know, well, the have-nots, well, what we're going to do is we elected somebody that's going to take away from the haves, those people that have risked everything, and going to take it away from them and give it to the have-nots. I don't think that's good public policy. I really don't. I'm not saying that we should belittle or make it hard on people that aren't as fortunate as others, but at the same time, you do have to have a few incentives to do something other than just sit back and enjoy the spoils that you get from the government. Do you see that?
Yeah, I do, Hal. It's just that it's difficult. I always try and put myself in other person's shoes. Mm-hmm. I try and understand where they're coming from. But there's this question that we have of this concept of generational guilt in this society, where we're having conversations about reparations. That ancestor Isaac Wade, by the way, he apportioned several slaves when he died, by the way. So the question is there a generational guilt from his line to me now, to where we should have to pay to redistribute my wealth to the people who are here today, who were the victims of that? But here's the thing. I don't have any of that generational wealth. I didn't get any of the slaveholder. My ancestor who fought in the Civil War was also a Confederate. I'm guilty. I owe money. My white privilege needs to be redistributed from me, right, Hal?
He still fought for a belief.
Yeah.
You know, I always go back to USS Missouri. You know, they had a kamikaze that hit the USS Missouri with his plane and died. And the captain of the ship back in those days took the remains and gave him a military, you know, they put him back in the ocean, but a military send-off. And a lot of the crew didn't like that at all. He's the enemy. But he reminded them that he fought for a cause. He gave his life for a cause, for the emperor and Japan. And that's worthy, whether we agree with it or not. And he wanted to give that respect. And that's the way we should be in a lot of ways. Mm. In those people that work hard and that do need help. But I think a lot of the things that are going on today go back to responsibility and hard work. And we've developed that culture, as you said, on looking for those things that, what can you give me? What can you give me? And go back to what Kennedy said, what can you do for your country rather than what
you can do for me, what you can do for your country. Yeah, good point there,
and that's
Hal.
society.
Yeah,
that's what's around us. That's your neighbors. That's your city, you know what I mean? We talk about the capital city, Jefferson City, great place to live, great place to work. You know, we have our challenges, of course. Housing is a big issue. The
Education.
homeless is a big issue, but I have found, not to get into something else, but mental health is something that we need to spend more time on. Society does.
I agree.
And that will foster the homeless side of it, because it seemed like 30, 40 years ago, we sort of moved away from government responsibility on mental health, mainly because it wasn't politically astute to do that. They don't have a voting block. Social services the same way. The poor people really don't have that much of a voting block. In today's society, as far as politics are concerned, squeaky wheel gets the grease more than ever. You know, finding out today in society, it's going to cost $150,000 for a state Senate race. That's the norm. In my day, 20 years ago, it was 15 to 20,000. So there's big money in it any day. You know, you talk about our present governor, he's a good guy, hardworking guy, but I just wonder how beholden the governor would be to get elected. How many favors he has to put out there and say, hey, you know, I supported you and I gave you this and I gave you that. And I don't know how we get around that.
I don't know either, because it's never been anything different.
No,
it's never been anything but that. It's politics is always about a compromise. It's always about the second best. You never get everything that you want. Even if you win a war, do you rarely get to get absolutely everything that you want at the end of that war.
But would you agree with me? We've had one anomaly in our lifetime.
Which was?
And he's sitting in the White House today.
You know what?
He
to some
really
extent,
didn't need anybody to give him big chunks of money to get to where he could have done it himself. And he
was
did a
an
lot
anomaly.
of it himself.
Yeah, he was an anomaly, right? And what's interesting is what he learned from his first term to his second term, how different they have been. I don't want to get too into the weeds on that.
Yeah, I don't either.
No, it's fine. I just want to remind people that we will have JD Tuccille to talk about the shutdown ending at 8:30 this morning, so about 20 minutes from now. And I do want to remind those who have made contributions this morning, if you've made a Rumble Rant donation or you've purchased something from forlibertyshop.com, you're eligible to play our game show at the end of the show. Basically, we turn this whole thing upside down and it turns into a live game show where all the contestants win real prizes from the shop. So if you want to play the game, just drop a Rumble Rant of any amount or go do your Christmas shopping at forlibertyshop.com. Get yourself a really nice Don't Tread on Me backpack, or perhaps you'd like to get a beautiful designed by Benjamin Franklin Join or Die hoodie, or we also have a hand woven throw blanket as well. If you go to forlibertyshop.com this morning and you start buying your Christmas gifts, then you're eligible to play our game where you can win some real prizes from the shop. So head on over to forlibertyshop.com, try our Founding Flavors coffee. Look at the unbelievable discounts we have now for you guys. Buy 2 boxes, save $3. Buy 3 boxes, save $7. 4 boxes, save $12. It's an automatic discount at checkout. You don't need a code. And look at the quality. All of these reviews are independently verified. 4.8 stars, 4.9, 4.8. Ironically, it's George Washington that they tend to like the least. But Jeffersonian Java is our #1 seller at the shop. So go and grab a box. Check out some of our others as well. The Martha's Mint is only available for a limited time, so you got to stock up. Head over to forlibertyshop.com. Put a couple of boxes of that so that you can drink it all year if it's your favorite thing, like our friend Kermode Bear at forlibertyshop.com. The holidays, of course, are coming up, and I wanted to talk to you about a difficult subject, estrangement. Because holidays are sweet, but they're bittersweet, Hal. And estrangement is something that is probably pretty common, sadly common, in families. When I was a young boy on Christmas morning, we had a huge family, and we would always have presents piled up taller than the tree for all of the kids and the cousins. And after a series of fallings outs, and some people passed away who acted as the glue, keeping the family together, right? Grandparents pass away, things start to move on. But then there's there's actual estrangement. And I bring this up because I read the story yesterday that Jimmy Kimmel's wife had estranged several of her family members because they voted for Trump, right? A lot of politics is the cause of this. Go ahead, Hal, jump in.
Boy, you're right on target. You really are. And I experienced that, and a lot of other people do too. The younger generation, family-wise, is a little bit different than our generation. My generation, of course, was coming out of World War II. I can remember as a child, Christmas, you had godfathers, you had godmothers, you had uncles, you had aunts. They all got gifts. You visited with them in those days. The family got together Christmas Eve. Christmas Day we had there's not so much of that today. I've got children. We're not as close as I was with my mother and father. I don't know if it's just the environment and everybody's busy, but I think it's a matter of priority. I don't think families are as much of a priority as they used to be. And as you get older, and I'm getting to the point now where I've lost my mother and father, and we got the 6 siblings, and talking a little bit more about getting together more often. Because when it comes down to it, I don't care who it is, family is everything. And that's the important basis for you living and growing up in an environment that you grew up with. And I think you got to respect that. And boy, if you're estranged from a family member, you need to make an effort to get back together again. I mean, I think that's just the right thing to do.
Listen to this. This is Jimmy Kimmel's and his wife on a podcast. Take a listen to this, Al.
Thankfully, my immediate family, they did not vote for Donald Trump.
Okay.
They did the first time, a few of them. We flipped them the second time. It's weird. When Donald Trump was first elected, I was so upset. We all were. But I remember thinking, I understand it because I grew up in a very conservative Republican house. I mean, I bought my dad a Rush Limbaugh tie in high school. I voted Republican straight ticket, and that's what I was told to do. And then I left St. Louis, Missouri, and I met people from different backgrounds, and I started to understand different things and different needs and different people. And there's like a little bit of sympathy I have for people in my family that I feel are kind of being deliberately misinformed every day.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
They're deliberately being misinformed every day, and they believe it. But it hurts me so much because of the personal relationship I now have, where my husband is out there fighting this man. And to me, them voting for Trump is them not voting for my husband and me and our family. And I unfortunately have kind of lost relationships with people in my family because of it.
Yeah, imagine that. I wonder who's responsible for that. Right? When did late night entertainers become avatars of the fight against the president of the United States? Remember Johnny Carson, for God's sakes? Remember Johnny Carson would not even talk about any of that stuff? But still. But imagine alienating your family.
But it happens. It happens. And I've seen it. Where you marry somebody and their family is a different political belief than you are. I experienced it in my family to a certain extent. We never talk about politics because of that, but I think it does drive a wedge between the relationship because of the political belief. That's unfortunate. I've got a lot of good friends across the aisle, and I've always been that way. The irony here is I grew up in a democratic society. Jefferson City was democratic for many, many, many years, and it has turned 180 degrees now. And I can remember the days when you could hardly find a Republican in central Missouri, and it's the other way around now. But they got along, and they didn't let the political beliefs interfere with family or social relationships.
A survey by the Harris poll, this is November of last year, found that 42% of U.S. adults and 61% of those currently estranged from a relative agree that politics is the largest cause of estrangement within families. In a poll released in October last year, 22% of adults reported family estrangement based on politics. And then a YouGov survey found that 29% of Americans report being estranged from an immediate family member, left or right. So that means, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, you won't even talk to over politics. That's sad, Hal.
Yeah, coming in close second is religion.
Yeah.
Religion and beliefs also create that. I've seen that a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's an interesting phenomenon. What do we do about it, Austin?
I really don't know. I mean, I've lost friends for, saying what I believe to be true and saying it in public. I mean, you and I were a little bit different because it's kind of our job to talk about these things, so people get a little bit more insight into us, who we are personally, than the average person will be. But even still, I mean, the average person wants to be able to A lot of people want to be able to say the things that we say, Hal, but they just can't. Not just because they would lose friends and family, but because they could lose jobs.
I agree. I definitely agree. The woking and the council culture. Hopefully that's being mitigated a little bit, and it's not as predominant as it used to be. But we got to get back to what the basic Christian values are. And when I say Christian, it's just the moral beliefs, not necessarily getting into various aspects of Christianity, but just the moral righteousness. Be nice to people.
Basic Christian values: love, compassion, forgiveness, honesty, humility, and justice, all rooted in the teachings of Jesus and the Bible. These values guide actions, emphasizing selfless love for God and others, integrity, generosity, and a commitment to truth and righteousness. Sounds just like you, Hal.
Well, you read those off, and are there any of those that you feel are daunting that you couldn't do and be uncomfortable?
Humility.
Well, there's always a battle between ego and humility, and it's all in the eye of the beholder. It really is.
Forgiveness.
Yeah. That's a tough one, especially when I'm driving a car. Forgiveness is a real tough one.
Love is something I've never struggled with. I think maybe it's just the way that I was raised, but we were a loving family, and I think I cracked the code early. After my mom died, you realize, wow, you do not get, for the people that you love, you may not get very long with them, so you better tell them you love them. My mother-in-law, she was not raised in that kind of a touchy-feely household, so when she comes here, she's not used to, she has to hug me, and I tell her that I love her, and she like freezes, and then sometimes she says it back, right? But it's a very awkward thing. So giving love is not something that everybody is familiar with.
And that's what hugging is. It's a challenging thing today.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, especially with COVID-19. Remember that?
No. We could spend a long time talking about COVID-19.
Honesty, I feel like I'm probably a little too honest. I need to pull back, actually, and just, because I hurt too many people's feelings.
Forthright. I would say forthright more so than honesty.
Yeah, okay. Well, what about, let's see, what about justice? That's a really tough one. Justice? Because how do we mete out justice as individuals? Justice is something mostly we hand out via society. How does an individual hand out justice, Hal?
Justice is intertwined with determining what's value and what's not value, and what's good and what's not good. And justice is a moving target, because what's justice for you may not be justice for me, and we'll both be right. We both be right. That's what's so difficult about the judicial system today. What's the adequate justice for an infraction? And we've I don't know. I err on the side of goodness, forgiveness, and giving people a second chance.
See, this is why I don't fit in with Christians, because I value revenge.
Why do you value revenge, Austin?
Because that's justice.
That's justice.
Yeah.
So if I do harm to you, you're going to go stalk me, right?
Yeah, damn
I
right.
see.
Yeah, an eye for an eye.
An eye for an eye. Okay.
There's another Christian share of value for you. Hey, Hal, our friend JD Tuccille is going to come.
Good. Looking forward to meeting him.
Yes, JD Tuccille is going to join us here in just a few minutes. We're going to talk to him about the shutdown. Feel free to hop in if you got questions. I'm going to give the audience the 5-minute mini documentary that they unlocked last Friday. I don't have a fresh one for them today. Sorry. But we will have those coming back tomorrow. And don't forget, if you have made a contribution today, you are eligible to play the game at the end of the show. So at 9 a.m. Central this morning, we turn into game show mode. Brad is telling me that you guys haven't sent in your text messages so that you can get your secret codes and log in to play the game. So if you've made a Rumble Rant donation or you've made a purchase at forlibertyshop.com, send that text message in to 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. And do not sleep during the break. I know that it's early, but grab a cup of Founding Flavors coffee, wake up and smell the new products at forlibertyshop.com. Stephanie is so proud of these women's pajama pants that she made last night. The President's Pattern women's pajama pants, the red patriotic George Washington print. We've got Washington, Adams, Jefferson, And I don't know, I can't see all of it, but 1776 in stars from the Dolly Madison flag. She designed those, and that was the fastest selling product in all of the shop's history. She literally made the product, posted about it, and somebody bought them immediately. So get these for somebody in your life who you know will love them at forlibertyshop.com. We're going to a brief break. When we get back, Hal Dooley will be here with us still, and we will be here with JD Tuccille. So it's going to be a fantastic final half hour, 45 minutes of the show. Don't go away. We'll be right back. It's the Wake Up America show. What are we on, Hal? What's this network? The For Liberty Network.
For Liberty Network. Call me napping.
We'll see you on the other side of the break.
New York City's next mayor will be Zohran Mamdani, who is not merely an extreme left progressive, but an actual democratic socialist. It would be a mistake to underemphasize the radical nature of this ideology. And yet, that's precisely what some in the media are doing. The BBC, for instance, featured an infographic that described Mamdani's democratic socialism as an ideology which has no clear definition, but essentially means giving a voice to workers, not corporations. That's an extremely evasive way of describing a radical political vision. No one would say that National Socialism, the ideology of the German Nazi Party, had no clear definition and implied only good things about the empowerment of the working class. It is not difficult to understand what is meant by the term democratic socialism. Plain old socialism is a revolutionary economic and political system that involves the workers seizing the means of production from the capitalist class. In practice, this necessitates a strong centralized state exerting significant control over and management of the economy, confiscation of private property, nationalization of various industries, and redistribution. Since such a system inevitably produces shortages, suffering, and eventually public discontent, actually existing socialist regimes throughout history have tended toward authoritarianism. The Soviet Union, for example, brutally suppressed internal dissent. In a 2021 story for Reason titled, "Yes, It Was an Evil Empire," the writer Kathy Young, who was born in Moscow prior to the Soviet Union's collapse, provided examples of Soviet tyranny. Among my parents' friends and co-workers, few did not have a story, if they were candid about it, of a family member or relative imprisoned in the Stalin era for some absurd reason. Someone's aunt was branded a subversive because a neighbor heard her playing a funeral march on the piano the day a notorious enemy of the people was executed. Someone's father was charged with fomenting defeatist attitudes during the war for remarking that Stalin sounded sad in his radio address to the people. By the end of its existence, the Soviet Union was an exhausted totalitarian regime, trying to maintain its grip on a society that laughed at official pieties, craved consumer goods, was thrilled by the forbidden, and idolized the West. Let's return to the Soviet Union in a minute. Democratic socialists seek to distance themselves from the authoritarian tendencies of actually existing socialist regimes, which is why they added the word democratic to their moniker. They wish to establish that the seizing of private property and redistribution of resources will be arrived at via democratic means. And like the BBC, they tend to describe themselves very vaguely, using flowery rhetoric. Senator Bernie Sanders, DVT, has defined democratic socialism as a government and an economy and a society which works for all. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez thinks it's democratic participation in our economic dignity. Obviously, these are not particularly distinguishing descriptions. Most people probably think their political views lend toward a dignified society that generally works for all. Certainly, opponents of socialism believe that the opposite slate of policies, free markets, low regulation and taxation, reducing government control of the economy, creates greater prosperity at all income levels. Democratic socialists should be more honest about what they support, having a powerful central government micromanage the economy. Enter Hassan Piker, a controversial far-left Twitch streamer and self-avowed socialist who has described communism as the honorable end goal of socialism. Piker attended Mamdani's victory party earlier this week and remarked to a reporter that it was unfortunate the US had defeated the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Hassan Piker just went full mask off at the Zoran election victory party, declares it a tragedy that the USA defeated the Soviet Union in the Cold War. At a time when many conservative commentators are feuding over Nick Fuentes and calling on others to denounce the anti-Semitic and racist influences in the movement, it might be fair to ask if Piker speaks for left-wing commentators. Just as every figure on the right should be able to denounce Hitler without hesitation, it would be nice to hear progressives admit that the Soviet Union was bad. Fuentes, for what it's worth, likes Stalin too.
It's really bad. Danielle Grant is starving. You know, I'm trying to see if I can get some food because we literally don't have anything to eat today or tomorrow. So I'm going to try to make it.
Good luck. I guess shutdown is over, so she's going to have something to eat today. Welcome to the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. I'm joined in studio live with Hal Dooley. Everybody say hi, Hal. Hal, thanks for sticking around with us.
Appreciate it.
And we're very delighted today to have from Reason Magazine, JD Tuccille to comment on the shutdown now open up. Welcome to the show, JD. It's nice to see you again.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, JD. So government's back open. Our friend Hal had asked you during the break, but if you don't mind repeating, how long is it going to take for them to actually get the government reopened?
I would think till the end of the month, the end of November. I mean, they've got to go through several votes first to actually get it open. And then you've got to get everything ramped back up again. You got to get the paychecks out. You've got to, the airspace has got to be cleared. You've got to get SNAP up and running. I mean, those are the two programs on everyone's mind. But all the other stuff too. When you pause this stuff, it takes a while to start it back up again. Get people back in the office, get paperwork shuffled, and get things moving. So yeah, the end of November, we'll be pretty lucky if it's more or less back to normal by then.
Any lessons learned from this? Major takeaways?
Yeah, don't rely on government. I mean, why would you want to? It's a hot mess. It gets messier every year. This is the longest shutdown ever, but the last one was the longest at that time. The next one will probably be the longest then. And it's always chaotic. Anybody who depends on the state for money, for approvals, for paperwork shuffled, for permissions, whatever it might be, is hung out to dry. I mean, when you make yourself, anything you want to do contingent on a government that could shut down at any moment, that's unreliable, that's inefficient at the best of times, you're really just setting yourself up for failure.
JD, in my perspective, I had minimal impact for the shutdown, and I got a feeling you probably did too. Who do you think was hurt most by the government shutdown?
The people hurt most are those who actually depend upon it. SNAP recipients, people who get paychecks from the government but don't have savings, which is another thing worth discussing at some point. People who need permissions. I mean, they're waiting for some paperwork to be approved. Sometimes it's minor stuff. I heard people who were trying to get firearm suppressors approved, and they're waiting for the paperwork to be approved by ATF, and it just sits on a desk someplace until the government goes back to work. Other times it's a big deal. You might need to open a plant, a factory someplace, and if the EPA or somebody else doesn't sign off on it, you're stuck. So there's a fair number of people who were impacted, although the vast majority of the country really didn't feel this unless you had to fly.
So in your article, you argued that the shutdown offered an opportunity to reduce the federal workforce. Did that actually happen, JD?
There was some reduction. We'll see how much of it sticks. Some of the bargaining back and forth between Republicans and Democrats in order to get these 8 to cross the aisle and vote for reopening the government, 8 Democrats to cross the aisle, involves reinstating some of the employees. I haven't seen the details of what that means yet. There was some reduction in workforce. There will be some, I think, somewhat fewer federal employees at the end of this than there were beforehand. The biggest thing, though, it was an opportunity to wean dependency in a lot of other ways. Why is it that it's almost impossible, it gets difficult to fly from one point in this country to another when the government shuts down? Why should the government be running air traffic control? That's not something that happens every place. Canada, this would not have affected them at all because their air traffic control is privatized. SNAP benefits. There are people in need in this country. There's no doubt about that. But when SNAP was introduced, 2% of the population was receiving food stamps. Now it's 1 person in 8, 12.3% of the population, even as the country has become much more prosperous. The per capita GDP has almost tripled in the time since SNAP was introduced. So why is 1/8 of the population receiving food stamps? That doesn't make any sense.
We've got Hal Dooley in studio he's a U.S. Marine on the U.S. Marines birthday today, and we're glad to have him here. Talk to us a little bit about how the shutdown impacted the military.
Paychecks. I mean, a big deal here. Everyone needs to get paid. We had a private donor come forward and kind of top off some of the paychecks for the military. But like all other federal employees, because military are federal employees, if the money hasn't been approved by Congress, those paychecks will not go through. But as Hal will attest, you still got to show up for that job. You can't phone it in sick the way a lot of air traffic controllers did. So that is a huge deal. I mean, if your military is underfunded, I can imagine what the morale hit for that is. At first, it's going to be something where they roll their eyes at. Eventually, it becomes a big issue. And if it continues and happens more frequently, that's going to be an ongoing problem for national security.
Yeah, it was interesting on what is a priority and what's not a priority for federal government on funding. I know Social Security was funded. I know veterans benefits were funded, and some other critical areas were funded, irrespective of whether they were shut down or not. Do you see some partisanship there?
Oh, it is. I mean, this is all a matter of priorities. I mean, they define it as essential or non-essential services, but the idea that there's some kind of a hard, rational line as to what defines essential versus non-essential is ridiculous. It all comes down to who was in power at the time that something was defined as essential and something was defined as non-essential. And most of the government is functioning. About 85% of the federal government functioned through this shutdown, even if paychecks weren't going through. But the parts that were defined as essential were entirely arbitrary.
Talk to us a little bit about the Obamacare subsidies. So what happens with those now? The people who are on the marketplace, they lose their subsidies, or do you think they're going to try and step in with a quick fix to this subsidy for the Obamacare program? If they don't, does the program itself collapse entirely? Is that what the Republicans want? Can you explain to us the whole ACA subsidy mess?
Yeah, I mean, and this has been blurred quite a bit, deliberately so, on both sides of the aisle. When the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, was originally passed, they knew that the premiums were going to be kind of out of reach. There's a health expert, Michael Cannon, who works for the Cato Institute, who described Affordable Care Act coverage as junk coverage at premium prices. So there were subsidies for premiums built in from the very beginning. Those were added to during the COVID-19 pandemic. With additional temporary, and put quote marks around temporary subsidies that were only supposed to last briefly through for the duration of the emergency. Those subsidies, not the original ones, are what's at issue here. They were supposed to expire. The Democrats don't want them to expire because the premiums really are going way, way up. The cost of these programs is through the roof. And the premiums conceal that from the people who get coverage through the marketplace programs. Now, whether those premiums will be extended is going to be a separate vote. The deal that got the Democrats to cross the aisle did not include extending those COVID-19 Obamacare subsidies, but it did include a separate vote. There's going to be an up and down vote of whether they will be extended. Given that the Republicans control the Senate and the House, I would not expect those subsidies to be continued, but they will have an up and down vote, and people can watch and see what happens there. That means that almost certainly those marketplace premiums are going to be rising substantially. People are going to see the Obamacare coverage go up, and that program, which has never been a good program, never made economic sense, at some point is going to have to be swept away and replaced by something a lot better.
JD, what about the political side of this? What about the relationship between Senator Schumer and AOC and that little spat? And where is the Democratic Party today? Did they win? Did they lose? Are they in shambles, or are they going to reorganize?
Well, I mean, it's a mixed bag there. The Democrats basically won last week's off-year elections, but they won them mostly in blue states, and who were the real beneficiaries is up in the air. The Schumer-AOC standoff is a big example of that. The reason we have a shutdown right now is because earlier in this year, when Chuck Schumer agreed to extend, a continuing resolution for government funding, he got a ration of trouble from his left flank, including AOC, who was a Democratic socialist, and she is almost certainly going to primary him in the next Senate election. She wants his seat. She has a good chance of taking it because the Democratic Party is drifting hard left. We had nominal moderates, Mikey Sherrill and Spanberger in Virginia, win their respective elections, but all of the energy was behind Mamdani in New York City. And there were a couple of other high-profile socialist candidates who did not win across the country, but put on showings that they never would have achieved in years past. So, and if you look at the polling, Democrats are increasingly friendly, especially as you get younger in age, increasingly friendly to socialism and favored over capitalism. So Schumer is facing a party that, won last week's elections, but is transforming around him into a shape that he's probably not going to recognize, and that doesn't bode well for his future. And it may not bode well for the U.S.'s future either.
Is Zoran Mamdani in New York City? I mean, we've got a lot of friends who live in New York. I know you do as well, JD. Are there any talk from them about getting out? I mean, what's the mood in NYC from people who believe in what we believe and happen to live in the imperial capital?
Well, there's a lot of talk about moving people and businesses, and there has been a flow. I mean, Florida's already been receiving an influx of people moving down there. I think a lot of people are more talk than action. They're willing to sit out. I mean, New Yorkers have lived through lousy governments before, and no one really knows quite how terrible Mamdani will be. I suspect pretty bad, but no one knows that for sure, and you can leave at a later date. There are businesses leaving. I would expect at some point that the financial industry is going to move. It doesn't need to have an actual building on Wall Street anymore. There's no reason for the stock exchanges to be located there, subjecting themselves to high taxes and regulations, and the personnel and people who don't want to live there anymore are increasingly doing their work online. So why not move across the river or to Texas or Florida? So you're going to see some movement, but it's not probably going to take longer than people have making it sound like, and it's not going to be quite so dramatic, at least at first, as the people who have been making noise in the weeks and months leading up to the mayoral election.
Yeah, JD, what about the silver lining? What about the actual Mamdani's got to produce some things now, and it's going to be exposed like President Biden during his term, really find out what their policies do and impact society. Do you see chaos in New York because of this that the rest of the country will see? Or do you think New York is the first domino to fall citywide?
Well, I mean, he's not going to be able to live up to some of his promises. He can't raise taxes on his own. That requires the state assembly to approve it. I don't see upstaters voting in favor of that. I mean, New York City is barely part of New York State. I mean, it dominates the state government, but there's not a lot of love lost there with the upstate counties and the western counties. But he can do a lot of damage, and I think that he's in a position, because he needs to have tax increases approved by the state assembly, to blame his failures on others, to blame it on the federal government, to blame it on the state government, to blame it on obstructionists. There's a lot of pie in the sky utopian wish casting by his constituency in New York City. And at least for urban Democrats and urban politics, this probably bodes a movement. I don't see it moving out into the suburbs and exurbs and rural areas, but the Democratic Party is largely an urban party now as it is. And so I think this is going, Mamdani does give us a glimpse of the face of the future Democratic Party.
JD, last topic for us here, and one that ought to frighten anyone with the last name of Tuccille. The Wall Street Journal is reporting this morning that Italian pasta is poised to disappear from American grocery shelves. The Trump administration is set to impose duties of 107% on Italian pasta imports, among the most punitive of tariffs that it has levied. But Tuccille, we will be getting a $2,000 tariff subsidy or a Trump check. So that kind of balances it out. So we could afford the Italian pasta. What's your take on this, JD?
The tariffs are ridiculous. I mean, I wish that there was a good free market political party on the national scale that actually had a chance of winning and supported liberty. And there's not. We've got an increasingly socialist political party. against increasingly corporatist, interventionist, even fascist political party. Neither one has good economic policies. In fact, neither one seems to have even a basic grasp on economics at this point. The tariffs have been a mess. And yeah, I mean, do I eat a lot of pasta? I do. And I resent this particular tariff. But
$2,000, JD. But we'll get $2,000 checks.
Getting a check from the government to offset bad government policy is just kind of the ultimate of doubling down on stupid ideas.
Yeah.
What I think is going to happen is, at least I hope is going to happen, is that the Supreme Court is going to overturn his emergency tariff powers, JD. And underneath that scenario, I think the economy improves, and the president gets to take credit for the economy improving, and he gets to say, look, I tried to get my tariff agenda across, but those traitors at the Supreme Court stabbed me in the back. So no matter what, Trump comes out the other side of this looking good politically, probably, if SCOTUS makes that decision. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, I mean, first, I'm not going to bet against you on that particular venture. I think you're probably right on it. The Supreme Court looked very unlikely to uphold his invocation of IEPA powers to raise tariffs unilaterally. Now, he does have other laws and powers that he can invoke to hike tariffs. Whether or not he does that, he might just declare, victory, a moral victory on the tariff issue, and accept a legal defeat if his advisors are smart enough to realize these tariffs have been a bad idea. So yeah, he could lose before SCOTUS. Still put himself up as the tribune of the American working class, and then kind of march into the midterm elections with that, and with a better economy behind him. So no, I'm not going to bet against you on that. I think that's a pretty likely scenario.
Hal, anything else that you want to ask JD before we go? Or
I think there's going to be some interesting challenges the next few months. I hope we can get together again and talk about some positive outcomes.
JD, whenever I open Reason Magazine, I go straight to your column. I read the Rattler. I've signed up for it on email. But how can people be like me and read your columns and get it delivered right to their inbox? Where do they have to go? What do they have to do?
Go to reason.com and you'll find that I write 3 columns per week. If you click on any of my columns and read it, there's a sign up in there for the email newsletters. You can receive it right in your inbox and never miss a single word that I write.
I never do. I read every single word that you write, JD. You're the best writer at Reason Magazine in my mind, and I certainly appreciate all that you're doing over there. And thank you so much for being so generous with your time with us on the show as well.
It's always my pleasure, Austin. Thank
you. That's JD Tuccille. I love his writings are fantastic.
I'm going to subscribe to that. Yes.
Definitely. Check out the Rattler and subscribe to it. It comes into your inbox and you stay informed. And JD's he's got a really dry wit that's really, fantastic.
But he's got a good mind.
He does. Stephanie just made a men's version of the pajama pants, her founding fathers, the presidential pajamas. Maybe that's what we'll call them from now. And they're right there at forlibertyshop.com in the new arrivals. The latest product drops. I don't know if this is supposed to be a picture of Thomas Jefferson as a young man right here that she made there. Thank God for AI. Look at that. This is 1700s. I don't think they wore that in the 1700s.
No, I don't think they did either.
No. Hal, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to play a game right now. We're going to have a game show. Now, what I have to ask you to do, Hal, is to not blurt out the answer when the audience does it, because otherwise the audience is going to be upset because they're going to play a game. We're going to get to watch it. We call this the Great Grift Off, or Liberty Loot Live. And people who have made donations to the show this morning, people who bought products from the Grift Shop, maybe they bought the pajama pants, they're eligible to play the game and win more real prizes from the shop. So today, right now, we've got one person hanging out there waiting to play. So if we didn't have anybody else join, that person would be guaranteed to win a prize from the shop. But they all want to play and they all want to join, but they have to get their secret code. The secret code gets sent to them when they send us a text message to that phone number at the bottom of the screen, 573-319-1586. So anybody who made a Rumble Rant donation, anybody who went to forlibertyshop.com, made a purchase, they're all eligible to get their secret code. But here's what happens. I press this button over here on my little stream deck and it does a 30-second countdown. They got 30 seconds once that music starts to get their booties over to crowdparty.app, put in their secret code, and play the game. Right now, there's only one person who's hanging out in the stream waiting to play, which means that they're going to get 100% chance to win. Now, are you just going to let Saint Selma walk off with this, guys? I don't think so. Oh, see, Drew, he wasn't going to let that happen. He was going to fight for his right to party. And now 3, there's Siggy's mom. There we go. Now it's getting competitive in there. Elbow in, Siggy's. And I'm going to hit that button now, the 30-second countdown. And when I do, we will have 30 seconds to get you in the room. If you have a code, make sure that you put it in. Get over there. Let's play the game. I'm pushing the button for the 30-second countdown right now. Here we go. This is Squid Game. Did you ever see Squid Game?
No.
Oh, it's a good show. It's on Netflix. It's basically like they play children's games and games like this, but if you lose, they murder you. All right, we're going to start the game now. Clicking start. Let's play. Heading over to the Great Grift Off. Liberty Loot Live. It's autumn trivia. When does the autumn equinox happen in the southern hemisphere? April 16th, March 12th. Oh, March 21st. 2 people got it. 1 person got it wrong. Drew and Siggy's. Drew was a little faster on the draw, so he's at number 1. Friendly fire. A random person is chosen. What is Saint Selma's favorite fall activity? Ooh, you got to guess. Corn maze. Oh, pumpkin picking. I don't think anybody got it. So, okay. Drew, Saint Selma, and Siggy's mom fighting for first, second, and third. What was the Old English word for autumn? Humdurgeon, brabble, zwatter, or harefest? I have no idea.
I don't either.
I like all those names, though. Harefests. Okay, and they got it. Not bad. Siggy's, Drew, and Saint Selma, first, second, and third. Okay, now they have to choose if they want to receive the gift. They've got 15 seconds, Hal, to decide if they want the gift or not. Oh, and if they did, they got 50 points. Siggy, Drew, and Saint Selma. Friendly fire. A random person is chosen. What is Drew's go-to fall drink? You have to guess. He answers. You guess. Is it apple cider, hot chocolate, or pumpkin spice? We went to the pumpkin picking place up in Mexico. Have you ever been there?
Yeah.
It's nice.
It is nice.
Yeah, we took
Very
little
nice.
Hazel up there. It was good. You got the apple cider donuts. How long has it been since you've been up there?
About 3 years.
3 years ago? Yeah, we went and had a lot of fun a few weeks ago. They got hundreds of pumpkins out there you can pick and delicious hot cider too.
Love it.
Drew's hanging out at number 1. Trivia. Get the right answer. Here it is. What is the first day of autumn known as? Fall day 1, fall solstice, autumn equinox, or autumn solstice? Don't say it out loud, Hal. Autumn equinox. Drew, Saint Selma, and Siggy's mom, first, second, and third. We're in round 8 of 12. What causes leaves to change color during the autumn? Lack of flavonoids, lack of potassium, lack of chlorophylls. Ooh, Saint Selma now clawing her way up to number 1, fighting with Drew at number 2. All right, a random person is chosen. Pick what that person would pick. Siggy's mom always has this candle scent burning during fall. Pumpkin spice, fireside, or apple cinnamon. Ooh. I wouldn't have guessed that.
I wouldn't have either.
Siggy's mom, she likes the fireside. Okay, round 10. Okay, now it's a minesweeper game. They have to, on their phones, they have to touch them and hopefully not hit any mines that explode. They've got 7 seconds. Let's see how many they got. Who's going to come in first place? Siggy's mom feeling strong at number 1. We've got a couple more rounds though. Saint Selma. Now Drew's dropped down to 3rd place. That's unheard of. When does the autumn equinox happen in the Northern Hemisphere? October 1st, September 14th, September 22nd, or October 31st? It's September 22nd. Saint Selma does not want to lose today. All right, last round. Pick who? Pick the majority's pick to win points. Who is most likely to make the best autumn treats? Oh my gosh. Siggy's mom. And Siggy's mom it was. Game over. Let's see who won. St. Selma, first place. Congratulations. Brad, send her a $25 gift certificate to forlibertyshop.com. She can go over there and buy herself a nice box of coffee. Thank you, guys. Thank you, St. Selma. And thank you to Hal Dooley. Hal, this was a good show.
Great show. Love doing it.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming in. We'll definitely have to have you back in here. And happy birthday to the U.S. Marines. Thank you for reminding us.
Semper Fi, hoorah.
Is there anything else that you want to share? I know you've got a show on Saturday. Do you want to do any plugs or anything before we get out of here?
Yeah, we're on only live talk show in the weekend in Jefferson City in central Missouri. Big on veterans, big on healthcare, big on politics. Love it.
News radio. 980 on
950.
FM, 950 on AM.
And 104.5 on the FM dial.
On Saturdays.
We don't have quizzes, but we have a lot of entertainment.
They do. Make sure you tune into Hal's show on Saturday. You can also tune into it online at kwos.com. They've got a live feed for you there so you can listen to Hal's show. Everybody say thank you to Hal. He's a smart man. He also married a beautiful, smoking hot, redheaded libertarian wife. Not quite as smoking hot, perhaps, as mine, but love you, Steffi. We'll see you guys right back again here tomorrow on the Wake Up America show. Where do you exit? Oh, you exit through Hal's going to go through the garage, but you are going to exit through the Grift Shop. So make sure you guys get your Christmas shopping in at thegriftshop.com, and we'll see you guys right back again here tomorrow on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
New York City's next mayor will be Zohran Mamdani, who is not merely an extreme left progressive, but an actual democratic socialist. It would be a mistake to underemphasize the radical nature of this ideology. And yet, that's precisely what some in the media are doing. The BBC, for instance, featured an infographic that described Mamdani's democratic socialism as an ideology which has no clear definition, but essentially means giving a voice to workers, not corporations. That's an extremely evasive way of describing a radical political vision. No one would say that National Socialism, the ideology of the German Nazi Party, had no clear definition and implied only good things about the empowerment of the working class. It is not difficult to understand what is meant by the term democratic socialism. Plain old socialism is a revolutionary economic and political system that involves the workers seizing the means of production from the capitalist class. In practice, this necessitates a strong centralized state exerting significant control over and management of the economy, confiscation of private property, nationalization of various industries, and redistribution. Since such a system inevitably produces shortages, suffering, and eventually public discontent, actually existing socialist regimes throughout history have tended toward authoritarianism. The Soviet Union, for example, brutally suppressed internal dissent. In a 2021 Story for Reason titled, "Yes, It Was an Evil Empire," the writer Kathy Young, who was born in Moscow prior to the Soviet Union's collapse, provided examples of Soviet tyranny. Among my parents' friends and co-workers, few did not have a story, if they were candid about it, of a family member or relative imprisoned in the Stalin era for some absurd reason. Someone's aunt was branded a subversive because a neighbor heard her playing a funeral march on the piano the day a notorious enemy of the people was executed. Someone's father was charged with fomenting defeatist attitudes during the war for remarking that Stalin sounded sad in his radio address to the people. By the end of its existence, the Soviet Union was an exhausted totalitarian regime, trying to maintain its grip on a society that laughed at official pieties, craved consumer goods, was thrilled by the forbidden, and idolized the West. Let's return to the Soviet Union in a minute. Democratic socialists seek to distance themselves from the authoritarian tendencies of actually existing socialist regimes, which is why they added the word democratic to their moniker. They wish to establish that the seizing of private property and redistribution of resources will be arrived at via democratic means. And like the BBC, they tend to describe themselves very vaguely, using flowery rhetoric. Senator Bernie Sanders, DVT, has defined democratic socialism as a government and an economy and a society which works for all. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez thinks it's democratic participation in our economic dignity, Obviously, these are not particularly distinguishing descriptions. Most people probably think their political views lend toward a dignified society that generally works for all. Certainly, opponents of socialism believe that the opposite slate of policies, free markets, low regulation and taxation, reducing government control of the economy, creates greater prosperity at all income levels. Democratic socialists should be more honest about what they support, having a powerful central government micromanage the economy. Enter Hasan Piker, a controversial far-left Twitch streamer and self-avowed socialist who has described communism as the honorable end goal of socialism. Piker attended Mamdani's victory party earlier this week and remarked to a reporter that it was unfortunate the US had defeated the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Hasan Piker just went full mask off at the Zoran election victory party, declares it a tragedy that the USA defeated the Soviet Union in the Cold War. At a time when many conservative commentators are feuding over Nick Fuentes and calling on others to denounce the anti-Semitic and racist influences in the movement, it might be fair to ask if Piker speaks for left-wing commentators. Just as every figure on the right should be able to denounce Hitler without hesitation, it would be nice to hear progressives admit that the Soviet Union was bad. Fuentes, for what it's worth, likes Stalin too.